Go ahead. Turn it up. It's the Record Machine Show with your host, Jimmy Howe.
Well, something good is gonna happen. I can feel it in the air. Something good is gonna happen. When it does, I'm gonna be there. 'Cause I can feel my luck changing, even though it ain't changed yet. My heart is like that wheel of fortune. Step right up, I'll take all bets. Well, I bet I'll find the girl who loves me, and we can't stand to be apart. We're gonna fly away together, wing to wing and heart to heart. Something good is gonna happen. I can feel it in the air. Something good is gonna happen. When it does, I'm gonna be there. Well, I bet I'll find a girl who loves me, and we can't stand to be apart. We're gonna fly away together, wing to wing and heart to heart. 'Cause something good is gonna happen. Well, I can feel it in the air. Something good is gonna happen. When it does, I'm gonna be there. Something good is gonna happen. When it does, I'm gonna be there. 'Cause I can feel it in the air.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome singer-songwriter Al Staehely to the program. Al, how you doing?
Okay, man.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Austin. I'm like third or fourth generation Austinite.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up there with the Austin High, with the University of Texas, and the University of Texas Law School, and played in bands through high school, college, and law school. And back then, Austin was a great place to grow up. It wasn't, it's still fine, but it's kind of become a different thing now.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of become sort of a victim of its own success in a certain way at this point.
So tell me about your musical background. When did you first get involved in music?
Well, in terms of appreciating it, I guess a lot of it, besides, as a teenager, you like what you and your friends are listening to, and Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly, various things. But really, my mother turned me on to it before that, because she was into music, playing, loved Ella Fitzgerald, and all kind of some of the Errol Garner and some of the big band stuff. And anyway, she turned me on to her having an appreciation for some good stuff. But then I really started playing when, I guess about right before the 8th grade. Always played bass on baseball teams, Little League, Babe Ruth League, all that stuff. And played actually Austin High for Austin High baseball. But right before the 8th grade, playing on baseball teams, I was playing golf, I was caddying, at the local golf course, and apparently spending too much time in the sun and not drinking enough water, I guess. I got a dehydrated kidney, and the doctor said I couldn't play any strenuous sports until the next summer, because I was looking forward to going out for football in 8th grade, and said I couldn't do that. So my cousin came over, and he had a guitar, acoustic guitar, and taught me Poor Little Fool by Ricky Nelson, and then that kind of got me interested. And so then I took some guitar lessons and started playing. And then when I got into high school, I had a little band and just kind of kept doing it.
Wow. Well, I believe every band or artist is influenced by someone. Who were some of your influences?
Well, in that first band, if you were in a band back then, you were expected to play a lot of different kind of songs, not like now where everybody's specialized. Well, not everybody's like that, but started up as a teenager, the stuff, like I said, we played Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly, actually Jimmy Reed of blues stuff. That he was kind of a really well-known guy. We played some of his stuff. But we also had played some. If we were going to play parties at that time, we had to play some country music. I remember early in my high school band played Ventures. Some of the Ventures instrumentals, and so it was kind of really varied, and really through college. I was mostly the bands were cover bands, playing what was popular at that point. So I probably didn't. I don't think I was really trying to start writing songs. I started in college, starting to write songs, but I wasn't in a band at that stage that was doing all original songs or anything. But once I decided that I'm really going to go for the music career, I decided I better get serious about trying to write good songs, because that's really the song is probably the most important part,
Mm-hmm.
But the influences were varied, from George Jones to country in the country field to actually the early rockers to R&B stuff, But anyway,
your latest album, Somewhere in West Texas. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. In what respect? You want to know how it came about?
How did it come about? Any special guest players on it? Things like that?
It came about really in a way by accident, because I wasn't really planning to do an album. I was, although I lived most of the time in Houston, we also have a place out in West Texas close to Big Bend National Park and about 45 minutes away from Marfa. And during the pandemic, we were laying low out there for a month, and I was thinking, I've got a lot of songs that I keep saying I'm going to record, and I haven't recorded them. I've heard there's one good studio in Marfa, and I know two really good musicians there. Fran Christina, the drummer for the Fabulous Thunderbirds, that at least he was on all those popular records they had back then, and a guitar player named Scrappy Judd Newcomb that had relocated from Austin to Marfa, played with the Ian McLagan's Bump Band, played with Ray Wally Hubbard, he produced and plays with other guys around Austin, and including Slade Cleaves, if you're familiar with him in the Americana world.
Mm-hmm.
And at any rate, I called them and said, hey, I've heard there's a studio there. They said, yeah, we can hook you up. And I said, I just want to lay down some songs if you guys want to do it with me. They said, yeah. So, and then Scrappy said, Chris Marish is coming to town to do another session with me. And I said, well, see if Chris wants to play bass on my stuff, because even though I'm a bass player, I don't want to play bass on this because I wrote them on acoustic guitar. I want to play them that way on the basic track. Plus, I'd heard Chris and Scrappy play together before. Mm-hmm. Knew they were really locked in. And so what started out to just be demos, we really cut the basic tracks of 6 songs on the first day we recorded. And it was really the other musicians that said, hey, these are really good songs. You ought to come back with 5 or 6 more and you'll have an album. And I said, well, I think, okay, I'll do that. And so really, I went back about 6 weeks later and we did 6 more. All mine except for 2. I did 2 songs that I really like of friends of mine. Night in the Box, written by my buddy Phil Lee, and What's So Hard About Love by Freddie Steady Kirch and Cam King. And so that's really the way it came about.
Very cool. Now let's
not trying to do. I think really the fact that I wasn't even trying to do an album necessarily, I think kind of made it better. I think you can probably feel a certain kind of looseness and kind of fun vibe about doing it, because it wasn't all serious. Like, oh, okay, we're doing an album now, everything's got perfect. We're just playing loose and having fun, and I'm really happy with the way it came out.
I think it came out great. Now, this podcast is going to feature 2 of the tracks off this album, Something Good Is Gonna Happen and Mercy of the Moon. What's the story behind those 2 songs?
Well, Something Good Is Gonna Happen is, it just goes to show that songwriters are not always the best judge of their own songs. I wrote Something Good Is Gonna Happen probably in 1978, and just had it sitting around. I almost never performed it. I thought it was kind of a fun little song, but I was writing but it came about really as I was breaking up with a woman that we lived together for about 4 years, or necessarily I wasn't me breaking up, but we were breaking up, and I went to the apartment to get the rest of my things, and I said, by the way, I just wrote a new song. You want to hear it? And she said, well, okay, I guess. And she probably thought I was going to write a breakup song or a sad song, and instead it was Something Good Is Gonna Happen. And I'm not sure that's what she was expecting, but that's how that came about. But then I didn't really take the song that seriously, and it's turned out to be, like, as you saw, the first song on the album, the first video, one that's seems to be getting a lion's share of the airplay on radio, and I've learned to appreciate it, and it's fun to play. And now, Mercy of the Moon, I wrote that in Austin, I think, by the shores of Lake Austin, and that's gone back a while too. And some songs you write about a very specific person or specific event. I mean, like the song Emily on the album, there really was an Emily, and that's really the story of that song is in the words of that song. I don't know that I could tell it to you any better than the song tells it to you, but right. Mercy of the Moon was more of an idea. I mean, it was a song title, and it wasn't about a particular person, unless I've forgotten that, which is entirely possible too. But sometimes you write something that is not really about it. Or at least sometimes subliminally, you find out later, yeah, I really did write that about somebody or about a specific thing. But sometimes it's our unconscious talking and spitting out these songs. But that is, and actually, to tell you the truth, that was another one that really kind of sat around for a while. It didn't perform it that much, and has turned out to be one of the premier songs.
That's my favorite on the album.
Well, you're not alone. I mean, they're
all good. They're all good, but that one sticks out for me. Mercy of the Moon. I love it. It has that classic country feel to it,
Yeah, it really is. It kind of fits with the West Texas theme.
Yes, sir.
Of this thing too,
How do you approach songwriting? What's your creative process like?
It's there isn't one way. I can think of so many different ways the song starts. Sometimes you have a musical idea first. Sometimes it's a song title first. Sometimes, like the song "What's Wrong with You for Loving Me."
Mm-hmm.
That was driving down the highway with a girl sitting next to me that I thought I was in love with, and I told her I loved her, and she said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Are you saying what's wrong with you for loving me?" And she laughed and said, "Yeah." And I thought, wow, that's a good song title. What's wrong with you for loving me?
Yeah.
So I think I started singing the melody to that just in the car before, and later went to the guitar and kind of learned how to play it and finished it up. But I've done, a car driving along in the car is not, and as long as you don't turn on the radio, is not a bad way to.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Well, you know what it is? I think it's sometimes you're doing something that's takes enough of your attention to have to pay attention, but not so much that you have to so like if you're just kind of cruising down the highway, you're not stopping at stoplights, and and it kind of allows the mind to kind of go where it wants to go, and I don't think I'm the only one that's had that happen.
No, I've heard other people say the same thing. They've come up with ideas driving down the highway. Maybe they saw something, or they were talking to somebody, and they came up with a good title when they started writing a song.
Yeah, it can be sometimes just a little lick or a new chord or something you found that is new to you, and yet something that lights that spark, gets thing. Yeah, the hardest. Well, you know how it is. The hardest thing about accomplishing anything is getting started. Usually, sometimes,
right.
Once you can get started and kind of become involved in it, then it really becomes fun. But the thing about writing songs and doing anything creative, especially if you're trying to do it as a profession, is because there's certainly a craft to writing a song or painting a picture or whatever. There's also that other element beyond craftsmanship, which is that some kind of inspiration or spark or something that you don't really quite know where it comes from. And I think that's what artists can get insecure, because I can remember, the excitement of writing a song that you think is really good lasts for a week or something.
Right.
And then if you really think it's a great song, then you start wondering, will I ever write one as good? Mm-hmm. Because I'm not quite sure how I did that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Even though, so one of the difficult things is trusting in the process and trusting in that the guidance will show up from wherever it shows up, but
yeah. Gotcha. Now
in fact, I read something with Bob Dylan was saying. He said, you know what? They were asking him about his songwriting back in those days, where he really got famous, and he said, I don't know where a lot of that stuff came from, and I couldn't write songs like that now. He said that's so sometimes the songs are also a product of where you are at that point in your life, and also you're influenced by what's around you and the music of your generation and all that kind of stuff, But
right, yeah, that makes sense. Now, you've written songs for other artists too, like Marty Balin and Keith Moon, Bobby Gentry, Patty Dahlstrom, John Cipollina, to name a few. What were those experiences like?
Well, actually, Marty Balin did "Mercy of the Moon."
Very cool.
Yeah, he loved that song, and he was a friend of mine. So I didn't write it for him, but I played it for him, and he loved it. He was a fan of my songwriting. In fact, when he left the Jefferson Starship in '78, I think it was, he recommended to the band that I be his replacement. and the reason primarily was he said Staehely has a lot of great songs, and you guys could use them. And so actually, I rehearsed with them for about a week. They tried out 3 different guys, me, an Englishman named Jess Roden, and Mickey Thomas. And as you know, Mickey Thomas got the gig.
Right.
And rightfully so for his voice, because he's such a great singer. But one thing that distinguished him from me, besides him having this really great high voice and everything, is he did not write songs. And the reason that sort of gave him an edge too was because what Marty didn't like about the band is that when it came to doing albums, they had this sort of democratic process. Okay, we'll do 3 of yours, 3 of yours, 3 of yours, And Marty didn't like that because he said, "Look, I want us to do the best songs, even if we don't write them, if somebody else writes them, In fact, let's just do great songs." And so it probably helped Mickey because he didn't write songs, he wasn't competing to get his songs on the album. But then Keith Moon, he did "Crazy Like a Fox," a song I wrote, which once again was a song that I had that I didn't think necessarily that much of. I just thought it was kind of a lightweight little rock pop song, which it kind of is really, but it was perfect for him, as it turned out, because it ended up being the first song on his only solo album and was the first single, which is kind of complimentary to me. But the fact that John Lennon gave him a song that he'd never recorded before, gave him a brand new song, and so that's kind of flattered that mine got to be the first song on the album. And that came about because JoJo Gunn, my brother at that point was in JoJo Gunn, and I was at the studio where they were recording, and their engineer, a guy named John Stronach, mentioned he was getting ready to start a Keith Moon album. And I said, "Well, who's producing?" And he said, "Mal Evans." And I said, "Mal Evans, the Beatles roadie, the guy that I saw in all the Beatles movies, and big guy with horn-rimmed glasses?" And he said, "Yeah." So I said, "Do they have all the songs?" And he said, "I don't think so." And he said, "Well," I said, "Well, I may have something for him." He said, "Well, come over to the record plant on Wednesday. I'll introduce you to Mal." And so I went over there and played him 2 songs. One of them was the first one I played. He didn't bite on. The second one was "Crazy Like a Fox." And he said, I could hear Keith doing that. We'll cut it on Friday. And
wow.
So 2 days later, we were in the studio with Keith Moon, and I was playing acoustic guitar, and Spencer Davis playing acoustic 12-string, and I was able to get all of JoJo Gunn. And I told Mal that my brother was in JoJo Gunn. He said, "Oh, well, let's get all of them to play on it." So they played on it, and then in addition to JoJo Gunn, it was also Jesse Ed Davis on guitar. So, but it was my brother who played the lead, "Crazy Like a Fox." So anyway, that's how that came about. And Patty Dahlstrom and I had been friends from Texas before either of us went to California. And, at any rate, they all have different stories.
Yeah, I can see that. That's pretty cool, though, that Moon picked that song, and it was the first one on his that went out on his record. I think that's awesome.
And I got to know him a little bit. I mean, my girlfriend and I went up to his house for dinner one night, his girlfriend, and got to spend a little time and hear some stories and get to know Keith a little bit.
I see you also worked with Peter Cox and Hodges. What was that like?
I never even have met him, but what happened was a guy I know, Steve McMillan, an English guy who was producing his record, contacted me, and I guess he was just looking for songs or what. He was looking on YouTube. I guess he must have put my name in, and he saw me doing an acoustic performance of "Feel the Heat," and he contacted me and said, "Hey, I'm doing this record with Peter Cox, and I'm interested in doing that song." I said, "Great, go ahead." So that came about, and I've never even met or talked to Peter Cox, but
Wow.
it was on his album. But
Now, do you have any shows coming up that you want to talk about?
yeah, next week, in fact. Where are you located?
I'm in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Well, I wish we had some down there too. Maybe some point you can help me get some. But these are up northeast. Got one in Vermont on next whatever the 26th is, which either that's that Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, and then the 30th and 31st in Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. Westerly, Rhode Island, and then October 3rd in New York City at the Rockwood.
Nice.
And so that's coming up shortly here. And yeah, I'd love to get down your way. I know North Carolina's been getting some airplay, and maybe South Carolina too. I don't know, but
South Carolina,
spread the word if you can.
Yeah, South Carolina. We have the in Myrtle Beach. We have the Alabama Theater. A lot of country artists play there.
Well, I'd love to get down that way if you have any ideas, let me know, man.
Yeah, I'll definitely see if I can see how that can happen. I'll make a few phone calls. Maybe I can get you a contact or something like that. I have your number, so I'll just text it to you.
Yeah.
You know? Do you have a website that you'd like to promote?
Yeah. It's just alstaehely.com. And the only trick is being able to spell Staehely, which is not easy to get used to. Mm-hmm. Staehely.
Very cool. Now,
you got everything up there, and that leads you to I don't know if you've seen the 2 videos from this album, but
I have. Yep.
And they're up there, and so anyway,
so that's
what's happening.
Now, is there anything you'd like to mention that we didn't talk about today?
Well, I guess what's on my mind now is just getting the songs to the people that are on this current album. Although, there's lots of other stuff that they can hear from past recordings that are on Spotify too. If they just want to explore or put my name into YouTube, you'll see a lot of things. But obviously my focus at the moment is bringing the songs on somewhere in West Texas to everybody's attention, or as many people as I can. Mm-hmm. And so really that's it for the moment.
Very cool. Well, Al, I want to thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed the conversation and your stories, and I want to wish you the best of luck with this album and the upcoming shows, all right?
All right, and thank you for your interest, and stay in touch.
Will do. You have a great afternoon, all right?
You too. Thank you very much.
All right, bye-bye.
I'm at the mercy of the moon. She can take me where she will, run me ragged, stand me still, turn me cold and make me swoon. I'm at the mercy of the moon. And tonight I see the light pouring down all over you. And as the dew begins to fall and your lips begin to call, I'm in too deep now to refuse. You say you love me, and I know that tonight you really do. But tomorrow comes too soon, and you'll sing another tune, and you'll find somebody new. But tonight we're at the mercy of the moon. She can take me where she will, run me ragged, stand me still, turn me cold or make me swoon. I'm at the mercy of the moon. Shows your body close to mine. I would give up this fight for fame and forget that your last name is his instead of mine. I'm at the mercy of the moon. I'm at the mercy of the moon. We're at the mercy of the moon.
The Record Machine Show is a weekly radio podcast produced by Jimmy Howell Productions. All rights reserved. For information regarding distribution or adding this podcast to your website, please visit our contact page at therecordmachineshow.com to submit your request. Thanks for listening. See you next time on The Record Machine Show.
The Record Machine Show.